Oh man. Oh my. Oh my. Oh, my first stream. Hello, everybody. This is new. All right. So, I hope you all are doing very good. And thank you all for coming. We're going to talk about Run with the Wind. I was going to have this stream yesterday, and because I am such a noob at such things on YouTube, I didn't verify my account. And so I thought, that's going to need a good 24 hours. So I'm glad y'all are happy and okay with moving this to Friday. It's a pandemic. What else are we going to do on Friday night, right? So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming and watching this. I've never streamed before, so this is a very new experience. I think the live chat is on. I've got a few. I've at least got a link to share with y'all, so I will get that on there. But I'm so excited to be talking to you guys about Run with the Wind. Hey, there we go. Look, there is a chat. Yay! Yay, rah! Those of you that are on Patreon with me, you guys have already seen the final episode, and everybody else, I'm assuming if you're watching this and if you're watching the reactions, you've seen the show. You've probably all seen it, but spoiler alert, thanks. I've watched the final episode. Tears were shed, and I'm so glad you guys are on here. So yeah, this series. I've got some questions wrote down that y'all have given me on Patreon that I'm going to answer, and then we'll talk about it in more detail. But Run with the Wind. The first question asked was, what expectations did I have coming into this? Oh, you haven't seen the final episode still pressing play. Yeah. That's my. Before we get into the questions, I hate the last episode of series, because especially if it's one you've seen for the first time. That's rough, because that last episode, you don't want it to end, and it's like Schrodinger's cat. Once you open the box, I don't get emotional. Tears of shit. Yeah, once you open the box, so it's done. I really don't. I don't know. I watch some reactors and they cry a lot, and I'm like, man, I feel like I just don't have a soul because I'm like not that emotional, but yet I don't know. This episode 22. We'll get to talking about the characters in it, but there were parts of this last episode that they just hit me, and I don't know what it was, and y'all warned me. You guys were like, you're going to cry. And I was like, no, I'm not going to cry about a show about running. No, that won't happen. But it did. So, but yeah, so expectations coming into this show. Okay, so for those of you that were not around way back when this show first got picked up, way back when, this is like, I've been watching this for like 6 months. So it's kind of crazy week by week, at least 5 months. But way back when we first started, this tied with Free. And I remember at the time thinking, okay, all right, running and swimming, land and water. Cool. These shows will be very similar. No. And I honestly, when it came to Run with the Wind, I didn't know what to expect, because it was about running, and so people had recommended it, and I was like, okay, I'm all for sports anime. I've been reading Slam Dunk. I love Haikyuu. Sure, yeah, 5 months, yeah, week by week, 23 weeks. The only time I watched 2 weeks in a row was this last 2 episodes, and so I was like, yeah, sure, okay, but I honestly thought it was gonna be about high school. I thought it was going to be about running in high school. I had not watched any previews. I didn't know what at all to expect. And I'll be honest, that first episode, I felt overwhelmed, because it was like you were thrown into this house with these 10 people. They were suddenly all introduced. Kakaru at the very beginning of this show was so down on his luck and so quiet and reserved. I was like, this is our protagonist. And okay, I kind of like Haiji. All right, he's really a go-getter. Okay, he's running this sketchy house that all these guys are staying in. I thought there'd be more with the coach. I thought that they were amping the coach up to be a big deal. I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to convince the coach to come in, and he's going to be like this integral part of the show. And he's gonna like, they're gonna get him to coach the team. That's what I thought was gonna happen. But yeah, Fair Maiden. It's hard. And there's some times where I will watch a couple episodes in a row. That's happened with a few shows, but because I'm watching a lot at the same time, I'm like, no. And I kind of like doing it week by week because you can decompress. It's kind of like when you watch like Jujutsu Kaisen right now is on a week by week schedule. So I'm like, okay, I take a week, you decompress, you focus on the episode, and you come back and you're like, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That was by episode 2, I was sold on the show because of Haiji, Demon Senpai Haiji. I was like, okay, I see what we're doing, show. I like this. Angsty Kakaru, yes. Oh, Angsty Kakaru. I'm glad we got over that. But I'll be honest, my brother and I watched the first 2 episodes. My brother was not a big fan of Row with the Wind, and he didn't like Haiji. And I was like, how do you not like Haiji? And he's like, well, he's just forcing them to run. And I'm like, no, there's all these other reasons. And he's like, So my brother's not a sports anime person. So that's probably why he didn't latch onto it. And I'm doing a couple other sports anime at the same time. So I was like a little bit more inclined. And I love Haiji. So I was like, oh no, Haiji sold me in episode 2. I was like, okay, I see what you're doing, show. And I'm all for it. Yes, best boy indeed. Yeah, there's so many names. I had to rewatch that first episode a few times and go, wait, who's who? What is what? What's happening? Haiji's looking at people in the bathroom. What's going on? So it was just, yeah, I'm very glad that I usually if I start a show, here's the thing. If I start a show, I'm going to probably finish it, even if it's terrible. And I know a lot of people would drop it, but it's kind of like I'm one of those people that if I paid for, remember when you used to go to movie theaters? Remember when those were things? If I paid for a movie in a theater, even if it's terrible, I feel like I paid for it. So I'm gonna follow it through. And if it's terrible, then I'm gonna laugh at it and have a good time with it. But I'm not gonna walk out. Like I don't think, yeah, sob movies. Husbando indeed. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever walked out in a movie in a theater. I think even if it was terrible, I was like, I'm gonna stick with it. It's fine. But this Run with the Wind, and I'd watched Haikyuu for a while. So that was I think Haikyuu would be my first sports anime. But other than Haikyuu, I started doing Run with the Wind and Slam Dunk around the same time. And those have been the only ventures into sports anime that I've really done. And I love them. So I am kind of all for the genre now. I didn't think I would be, but I'm like, more please. So for the poster, no context. I'm looking at yours, Nathalie. Yeah. I didn't expect it to be this good either. I was like, it's an anime about running. What could it be? But it's not really about running though. There's so much that goes along with it that just goes with the running. The running is kind of almost just a background thing that happens, and it's connected to the plot, but it's really about these 10 individuals and their kind of shady shadowed pasts all coming together and finding a bond with one another, and running is kind of the glue that holds them together. And it's so wonderful. And I like that it's set in college. That's probably my biggest pro with this series, is that it's not a high school set series, because it can be more mature than just, because I can easily see how this would be in high school, and it would be like the drama that we see in Kakeru's Past in episode 13. It would all be centered around that, and there'd be like some weird like romance subplots and stuff like that, and it'd be like all high schooly. And this being in college allows them to be more mature and the characters to be older and kind of have more world experience. The Kakeru and Nico meme. Oh, Kageyama and Asahi. Yeah, I will be honest. When I first started this series, I saw something on Twitter that was like, "Oh, this is why Haikyuu is taking so long, because Kageyama wouldn't join a running team." It's like, nah. I can't relate to high school kid. I'm ancient, you guys. I am ancient. Dinosaurs. When we're watching Banana Fish, I'm looking at the manga right now, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, the 1980s. Those were fun times." No, not that ancient, but. Yeah, the worst thing is if a show is just dull. At least, yes, okay, Defensive Onion, yes, that's my thing. There is a good bad that is hilarious. Like I've seen some stuff that's so bad it's funny, and that I can get on board with. If it's just boring though, then nah. But I still think I'd follow it through. I'm going to be a hypocrite though, because one series I eventually want to talk about is Soul Eater, and eventually get talking about that. I think that's the only series I've ever dropped manga wise. And we'll talk about that when we get to it, but we're talking about Running with the Wind. So is there anything, so second question on here, is there anything in the story I would change? Oh gosh. Ooh. Make it longer. Have a second season, which is hard because this series ends so well. Like the series ends so good. I felt like this last episode, and it'll be out next week on YouTube here, but this last episode, it just ends so perfect. And I'm like, it just perfect little encapsulated bookends everything and gives you the preview of like the future. And it's just, I guess if there was, it is hard to imagine Snarksadoodle. It is hard to imagine a second season. I'm like, it's one of those things that even if they did a second season, the only thing I could think of is an episode of them just having fun. Yeah. If it was like a future episode where we got to see what each of the 10 members is doing right now, like we got that little image of Haiji like looking out his apartment window. And I love that shot. Like it's so good, like with the wind and everything. I'm like, and he's going to coach. And it's like, I guess if we had like an OVA where it was like a day in the life of each of our 10 characters, and you could tie Kakeru and Joda and Joji in together with the new team, like you could tie all of them together, that would be cool. And then do like follow around Musa, follow around Prince, and follow around everybody and see what they're doing for the day. And then it could even be at the very end, they all come together in that final scene in episode 23. Like that could just tie it all together in a nice little bow. A beach episode. Oh my gosh. That's what we need. Of course. Why didn't Nathalie? That's a great idea. A beach episode. They running on the beach. We've got to, knee for knees, it's that sand, that endurance. I mean, I'd watch it. I would, yeah, sure. We don't have enough of that. Somebody on Patreon was talking about Mappa doing a new water polo series. I'm like, that's all we need, Mappa. Way to go. Yuki in court as a lawyer. Yes. Yuki in court as a lawyer. That would be amazing. And then Sakaki ruined it. Oh, we'll talk about, I guess we don't have a question about Sakaki, so we can talk about him. Oh man, Sakaki is such a complicated character because from the first episode we saw him in, I could not stand him. I was like, why are you being this way? Like, why don't you just leave them alone? You're just being annoying. And then by the time episode 13 comes around and you realize the full backstory of what Kakeru did and how that affected Sakaki in the other third years, then I kind of understood him a little bit more. But I thought that the way that they handled the ending of Sakaki's character was very good because it wasn't sappy. It wasn't that emotional, like, oh, we're going to become besties after this race and I forgive you and let's just go hang out and eat at a restaurant together. It's like, no, you guys have gone your separate ways and it's cool. It's water under the bridge. It's done. But you don't have to be friends. Like Kakeru can go do his own thing and Sakaki can go do his thing. I thought that was a good way of ending it. And then, of course, they give us that little bit where his spoilers, his team doesn't make the top 10. It's like, I guess you got to keep running next year to get that qualification. Yeah, reunion when they're old seniors. Oh, no. When they're old. Oh, that would be like if Haiji takes over the house that they rebuilt and he's like the old landlord of it. That would be so sad, but so sweet. And they'd still run. It'd be like senior citizen running, like it'd be the silver marathon that Sakaki's talking about. Prince in his wheelchair. That would be, yeah, just Kakeru wheeling him around. That'd be amazing. It's the assisted living with Run with the Wind, like assisted living. Oh, that'd be so great. Yeah, he's a morally gray character. He's kind of, yeah, he is a bit cartoonish at times, but like there are people in real life that can be cartoonish douches too. So it's like, okay, all right. The journalist too, I thought his character was super just weaselly and wormy. The journalist that kept wanting to get the story with all of them. And it made me uncomfortable watching it because Haiji kept saying, like, we don't want the interview with you. Go away. And he just wouldn't do it. And it just, gross. I would also have liked more, and I wrote this down, I got my little notes here. I would have liked a little bit more backstory on a couple of the characters. Oh, the coach, awful. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. No. I guess as far as characters go, I wanted to see more with Nico and Musa and the twins. I think of all the characters, we didn't get a whole lot with Musa's backstory. Like I wanted to see him coming abroad and that whole, how that played into it. Because we get a preview of it in episode 17 and 18. We get just like a little bit of kind of the view that they have about these abroad students that are on scholarship and about the attributes that they are to the teams that they play for. But I wanted to see more with Musa. I feel like I like Musa's character a lot, and he's such a heart on the team that I wanted to know more about his background, like his family, and like, because it's kind of sad, right? Because we see Shindo's family watching Shindo run in episode 20, and we see Yuki's parents with Yuki in episode 21, and we get the idea, the thing with Haiji's dad, and we get Haiji's dad, and like we get a lot of the family members, but then poor Musa, we don't really have anything on him. Yeah, we get not really much on Musa at all. And I really wanted to see like how his family, did they even know he was running? Did they know he was in the Hakeone? Like, what was that? So, wait, the voice actor for the journalist is Nanami? That maybe redeems him a sliver. This much. Not much more, but just a little bit. Robbed. Robbed. But yeah, I want to see more in Musa. I'm glad we got Nico's backstory. It would have been cool to get a little bit more in his flashback from high school. And then the twins we really didn't get a lot on either. Like they get that little moment in episode 21 into 20 into 21, or 19 to 20. We get a little bit on them, but not a whole lot. And then even Prince, I feel like we got enough on Prince. I kind of wanted to see them follow through with the parents. Like they were asking Prince about his parents, and he's like, well, they're normal. And they're like, well, what's your normal? And so that would have been cool to see them at the race if we could have saw Prince's actual family there and been like, oh, they are normal. It's just Prince is the manga guy. But yeah, Musa's family in his home. We get that little image where he's running and there's like the African countryside behind him. And it's so cool. And I was like, oh, are we going to transition to a flashback with Musa's family? And we don't get it. I'm like, that would have been really cool. And plus, he has that awesome goatee at the end. So I feel like we need some Musa. We need some Musa backstory. Run with the Wind. We need some more with him. He rocks that goatee. He's like the only guy on there with facial hair that makes it work. But yeah. Do you think so? And this importance of support. Yeah. Because I love that moment where he kind of tells Sakaki off in episode 21. Yeah, how it was being so far from his family. Yeah, because in episode 21, when Sakaki is like going on, Musa's like, this is serious. Like, Shindo nearly died last episode. Like, we're not playing around. This isn't fun. We're doing this for a reason, you know? So he has a big part on this team. So I feel like we should have had more with him to kind of talk about his character. Because, yeah, we don't really get a whole lot on him, except when he's either in the bath with Haiji or Kakaru, or he's walking around with Kakaru and Shindo and them. We just don't get a lot on him, which is kind of sad in hindsight. Would have liked to see more Musa. But question 3 on here is, do you think that any of the characters were weak being wrote? Well, we talked about we need more on Musa. The twins, I don't know what your guys' thoughts on the twins are. I'm fine with the twins. Joda and Joji, I'm okay with. I got nervous around episode 17. I got a little bit nervous because at the end of 16, we just qualified. The team had just qualified, everything's like, okay, underdogs doing our thing. And then that whole issue with the twins, I was like, is this really are we going to do this show? Are we going to put this needless drama in here? Is this going to be a melancholy melodrama? What are we doing? And so I'm glad that that's not how it turned out. I'm glad that Kakeru like became Demon Senpai Jr. and got them out of their funk. But I was afraid that the twins were going to mess it all up. And I was like, don't do that show. So I guess the twins are where I'd say the weakest link in the show is for me are the twins. With the exception in episode 22, it was 21. I'm getting my episodes confused, guys. But the episodes when Joji gives the sash to King, right? Am I correct on this? No running from Kakeru. Yeah, you don't run from Kakeru. But when Joji gives the sash to Shindo, I really loved, yes, thank you. I love that moment where Joji like collapses and he's crying and he's like, I should have kept running. I had a job. I let Shindo down. Like that moment of vulnerability from Joji, I was like, that's okay, cool. That's character development. That's what I wanted to see from both of them. And I just feel like we could have gotten more out of those two. Yeah, I'm happy it was wrapped up quickly. That's the one thing about this show. And the one thing I love, and I think it has more to do with the fact that it's a college show about them in college, not high school, is that there was not any melodramatic drama that just went on needlessly in the show. It's one of my favorite parts. Like everything was dealt with respectfully and it all made sense. Like everything was handled very, very well as far as communication goes. Like if we had an issue, we all talked about it. Episode 13, I don't know about you all, but episode 13, when they had the little circle with Kakeru telling his story, I was like, thank you, show. That's how you should handle it. I was like, because I was thinking when Kakeru was going to tell Haiji on the balcony, I'm like, he's going to tell him all of his concerns. And when Haiji's like, no, we need to tell everybody. It's like, yes, you do need to tell everybody. That's perfect. Awesome. That's exactly how you should do it. And so I thought that was handled really well. All right. Okay. These next two questions, Woo, she's in the chat there, gave me these questions. And I'm like, I've dreaded them because they're the hardest questions you can ask anybody to do on a live chat or a live stream. Ranking characters. And of course my dog's going to go crazy. So y'all have to ignore him. But ranking characters like in this show, that's hard. It's so hard. So there's two criteria that Wu gave me for this question on Patreon. It was the first question is ranking the characters just on their character alone. So just what you think on them alone. The second half is ranking characters on growth, on how much they've grown. So I'm going to start with the growth. I'm going to switch up and start with the growth question first, because I think that one's a little bit more objective, maybe, than good luck. Yeah, she's like, have fun, Romania. You won't be judged. So, ranking characters on growth. I think that's a little bit more objective than as a whole. So I'm going to start from 10 to 1, from least growth to most growth. And again, some of these are really close. Like they're super subjective, of course, and y'all can argue with me in the chat and be like, you're wrong. So, number 10, I'm going to say the least growth as a character. I'm just, no judgment here. Admit your thoughts. Nira! Least character growth. No, Nira ended up with puppies at the end. Nira had the most life changes out of everybody in the show. Nira is our life change MVP. Why wasn't that included? Oh, I'm only going on top. Sakaki, no growth. Very, very little. Yeah. I'm just going on the 10 characters on the running team, for the record. I left Nira, Sakaki, the coach, Fujioka, all of them out, because if Fujioka had been on the top characters, then it would have been a bit different, because I really like Fujioka's character a lot in this. Nira made a family, most growth, MVP of this whole series, has had the biggest life changes. It's like a yearbook. Okay, so number 10 on the least growth as far as from growing characters on growth, I'd say number 10 is Musa. And I'm only saying that because Musa doesn't really change much from start to finish, I don't feel. I feel like Musa is pretty much a solid character from start to finish. And because we have so little writing on Musa in this show, there wasn't really a lot of things I could say about him that changes from start to finish. Like, he seems pretty supportive of the whole team from start. Yeah, he started out awesome. His character peaked like in episode 1. You're like, cool, Musa's awesome. Cool. No need for growth. So yeah, I'd say as far as character growth, Musa's kind of like the least changed character from start to finish. And the next one would probably be number 9 would probably be Joda for me, the one twin, because again, like Musa, there's not a whole lot of changing on his character. I put Joji over Joda for number 8 because Joji at least has that moment when he passes the sash to Shindo that he realizes something. And Joda comments that Joji will probably keep running, but I guess Joda and Joji are pretty much tied because Joda ends up running with the team at the end, even though he said he wasn't going to. So they're pretty even. Yeah, Musa does not need to change, no. So yeah, Joji and Joda, they're probably my 9 and 8. And then from there, it gets harder. Again, this is only on character growth. I feel like number 7, and I dreaded saying this because I was like, I like this character a lot, but I feel like number 7 is Haiji. Haiji, as far as changing from the start of this show to now, and him trying to figure out running, Haiji has a little bit of character change, maybe him going through the therapy and everything, and then him talking to Kakeru in the kitchen. But his character doesn't change a lot, right? So now from before the show, from like when he first comes to Kansai and high school and everything, there's a lot of change there. But I feel like from when he first meets Kakeru on the bike to now, when the show ends, there's not a whole lot of psychological changes. I mean, obviously with his knee and everything, that whole issue gets brought up. But as far as his character, I don't feel like Haiji changes a whole lot in the series. Like he's kind of like Musa. He starts out awesome and stays awesome throughout. Like, yeah, Haiji, he had more flashback growth. Thank you, Snarksadoodle. Yeah, more flashback growth than that. And okay, and yeah, then we were talking about Joji and Joda with Atsumu and Osamu, the twins. Yeah, Joji liking it just a little bit more than Osamu, or a little bit more than Joda, just like Osamu and Atsumu. Very true. So yeah, I put Haiji as number 7. And then from there, it really gets from there. Like those last 4, I was like, okay, they're all pretty much the same from start to finish. Number 6, I had Nico. I feel like Nico's change is psychological with his conditioning, with how he views his body, his weight. He does go through a change from start to finish. And I really like that it's positive. I like that little scene where he's on the scales and Nico's like, yes, like I did my goal. I met my goal. I lost my weight, gained some muscle. And the whole part of Haiji chasing him with the lunch, it's like, it warms my heart. I'm like, that part is just so good. But I think Nico changes a lot at the beginning of the show. And then by the time we get to episode 21 with his parts, it's kind of like just the realization of that. Oh yeah. And I love that part with Nico. I was a little scared at first when he started, like, he wasn't eating and he wasn't treating his body really good, which that was kind of at Kakeru's lowest points in the show. And so that's when I was like, I was worried about Nico. I was worried about his smoking, that was all going to come back up again. Like I had constantly feared he was going to like take up smoking at some point in this show and it was going to ruin everything. So I'm glad that they didn't do that his character kept pretty well throughout the series. Yes, yeah, Wushin, the thing about the second OP where it split the 2 different paths. It's one of those subtle symbolism things that you don't notice going in and you're like, oh, I see what you did, show. I see what you're doing. And then everybody was commenting on the ED. They're like, did you see the ED when it changed? Did you see? And I was like, of course, I don't notice these things until like 3 years later. And I'm like, oh yeah, it did change. Cool. Oh, well, you know what, Sarah? You read my mind because Shindo's number 5 on my list. So yeah, Shindo is number 5 on my list for character growth, because Shindo does go through some growth. He does, especially episode 20. Oh my gosh, that's Shindo's episode is episode 20. I would say Shindo has been strong from the start. Shindo was the first one to commit to running. He was the one that got the website up. He brought like Yuki and Kakeru together for their friendship developing with him. And then, I mean, the whole issue with Shindo's girlfriend leaving him, and that whole part where he like is like, just let me keep running. Like that part. Oh, yeah, my precious small boy. Like that got me. That was like the first big emotional gut punch with Shindo. Was like, oh man, episode 11 where he's like, I just want to keep running. I'm like, oh, you poor boy. And then episode 20 was the first point that got me into like misty eyed in the show, because that was hard to watch. So hard to watch. He is the heart of the team. That's right, Jacob. Yeah. And I don't know about you all, but I couldn't look away because I was watching it. But and he's Suki's VA. Yeah. If you watch Haikyuu, he's Tsukishima's VA. And it's like, that is amazing to me, because if this were, I would have connected Tsukishima's VA to being like Yuki's character, because Yuki's character is very like Suki. He's just kind of like, I'm not going to really give it all my all, and I don't know about this, and this, I'm hesitant about all this. And then, yeah, he voices Shindo, and it's like so perfect. But yeah, Shindo would be my number 5. Number 4 would be King for me. I didn't expect to care so much about King until this last episode 22. Because I'll be honest, and I've talked about this in the reactions, the King episodes at the beginning, 5 and 6, were kind of like, for me, I've loved every episode in this series, but 5 and 6 were the two that I was like, okay, they're good. They're really good episodes. And I think it's because I hadn't latched on to King's character. I just didn't get him as a character. Yes. But yeah, Jacob, like you say, he's shockingly relatable. In episode 22, it all hit me, and that like brought me to tears. Like that's the part that like, and then of course Kakeru compounded onto that and made it even worse. But yeah, that was the part that got me, was like King's whole monologue about embracing loneliness, about being lonely and being isolated in a crowd, and you can't fit in. And then he reminded me, like his whole spiel about putting on this happy face. It reminded me of comedians like Robin Williams, who struggled with, his own depression and things like that. But he put on this happy face and everybody's like, oh, he's so funny. And it's like, ugh. And then Horimiya, the show. I'm like seeing you guys in the chat here. Yes. So Kai, yeah, I cared about King the least when the show started. And then he's the reason I like bawled in episode 22. So yeah, he's up there on character growth. Like he changed a whole lot. Just, yeah, 100% agree. Like King's character, like just got up there for me. I was like, okay, I'm on board with you now. I totally get it. And so then we're left with our top 3. And I'm going to say that number 3 is Prince. Prince is my number 3. I'm going to go with Prince being number 3 because, I mean, as far as running goes, Prince is probably up there. Like, as far as the most growth as a runner, I'd say Prince easily wins this, because if you had told me starting this show, when we saw how slow Prince was, if you had told me that by episode 14 that he was going to qualify, I'd have been like, no. I honestly thought going into this that Prince's whole thing, I thought that like episode 18 was when we're going to get Prince to qualify. I thought it was going to be like something way later on in the series. And then, of course, by the time you realize the qualifier race, I was like, oh, well, then he has to qualify. We don't have that much time left. So as far as a runner goes, Prince definitely has the most growth. But character-wise, Prince definitely gets a better mentality about running and about being around his friends and everything. But he doesn't change as much as I think number 1 and number 2 does on my list. But the moment that got me, and for those of you that are just watching the YouTube reactions, I'm sorry, but those of you that are on Patreon, man, the part where Kakeru finishes his leg and he looks up and Prince is waving his arms and yelling and being like, Kakeru, you did it, and all this. I was like, what? Who is this character and what have they done with Prince? Like how even? Just, that was like, my heart soared, because I was like, Prince is actually like energetic. Because you think back in episode, oh gosh, was it episode 10? Was it episode 10? The one where Haiji makes them sit out and Prince is just like, go guys, you did good. And that's like all he can do. And then you cut to 10 episodes later and he's just like waving his arms, screaming at Kakaru. And then Kakaru makes him run off so they can go catch up with Haiji. I was like, how? Just, yeah. This, and Kakaru and Prince's relationship, their friendship, I didn't see coming from a mile away. I didn't see coming. And then, yeah, it's so underrated. Yeah, Snarks-a-Doodle. I was like, I didn't see it coming. I was like, what is this friendship that these two, but they are quite similar characters, right? And so it just, yeah, 10 is the Kakaru Prince episode. And so good. It's one of my favorites of the series. I just did not expect Prince's character to like mesh with Kakaru like that. Very, very much. So that leaves the top two. Shouldn't be surprising, but number 2 is Yuki. Yuki, I liked Yuki's character from the beginning. I'll say that. I know some people didn't like Yuki at the beginning. I thought his snark with Nico was hilarious, that he was like, quit smoking, and blah, blah, blah. And the scene at the club with Haiji, where Haiji like just shows up randomly at the club with him in his tracksuit. He just shows up in his tracksuit while Yuki's trying to pick up girls. And he's just like, hey, friend. It's just like, like, I would just imagine if you were at a club trying to get away from all these insane runners, and then your peer mentor, your coach, shows up in a tracksuit at 3 a.m. to bust you out of the club and is like, here's my number. And Yuki's like, oh my God, stop. Like, just, yeah, Yuki just wants to be normal, but he can't help it. He's an uptight law student. That's right. He's snarky to the max, and I love him for it. But I felt like Yuki going from hating running, questioning everything, trying to find a legal loophole in the system, to running until his feet bleed and not saying a complaint about it. Like, that's the thing. He ran all the way up in episode 21 until his feet were literally bleeding. And the only thing he said was, I don't get those 2 seconds back. I can't beat that record by 2 seconds, but that's it. Like, he didn't complain at all. It was just the growth on him is like, and then, yeah, Haiji's on to you. But yeah, Yuki just, and the relationships that he develops, not only, because I thought starting this series that, yeah, Yuki totally, Yuki has a type A kind of personality where he takes charge and has initiative, and it makes sense. He's a lawyer. He passed the bar in the first try. He's a go-getter. He is going to do good if he's going to do something. And so that's kind of why I think he didn't want to do the running at first. He's like, I'm going to have to commit to this, and I'm going to have to try. I don't want to try to run. And so, because he knew once he got into it, he was going to be dedicated, right? And so I feel like Yuki doing that, yeah, he couldn't resist the opportunity on a bunch of research. So I feel like I thought at the beginning of the series that Yuki was going to follow Nico around, and he does for the most part. Like, Yuki's the one that notices Nico's bad eating habits. He tells Haiji about Nico. He gets the figurines that Nico's making. He sells them online. Like, he starts all of that. So him and Nico are connected, but I never would have imagined that he would have developed a relationship with Shindo. Like, him and Shindo's friendship it's so good. Like, at the end, like when they qualify together, they both make time at the same race, and they're both like leaning on each other and hugging each other. And then Yuki's following Shindo around and watching him while he's sick. It's like, I did not expect that friendship. And then he even develops that with Kakaru too. Like, they get to connect with each other about their parents not being totally on board with their running. And so his character, man, I liked him from start to finish, but he grew so much on me over the course of this. Yeah, he cares a lot more than he lets on. And like you guys said above, Jacob, like you said in the chat, he starts doing the qualifier and he starts making sure that people are making time. And in episode 13, when they have the team meeting, he's the one that's like, okay, meeting's adjourned. And it's like, he's taking charge. He's getting all on board on this. And it's like, Yuki, my man. I love it. I love it so much. And so I guess that leaves number 1, which the most changed character in this series is Kakaru. I mean, that's what got me in this last episode, in episode 22, is just, I went back and watched, artist Toda, you have not watched Run with the Wind. We are spoiling you. We are spoiling you so bad. Oh no. feel awful. Spoiler warning, y'all. This is, it's like, hey guys, what's up? Oh man. Yeah. So Kakaru. Oh man. Yeah. Artist Tony, you need to watch this show. It's good. It's good. It's a good time. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you're not okay. I'm glad you're okay with being spoiled. Yeah, Kakaru changes. I went back before watching episode 22 because I knew episode 22 was going to be Kakaru's leg of the race. And yes, Snarksudoodle was getting that to me. I went back and watched episode 1 again because I knew it was going to be Kakaru's leg of the race. And I was like, they've been doing flashbacks with all these characters. I bet they're going to flash back to Haiji meeting him on the bike, which they don't really. But that's kind of what got me to in episode 22 was seeing him in episode 1, like how disheveled and depressed and awful he was. And just down on his luck and so disinterested and apathetic towards everything and just felt like he was helpless and couldn't do anything. And then suddenly he just, yeah, it'll all be for nothing if I don't leave a record. Like just going from that mentality and then as you see his character change. And I'll be honest with y'all, I was not a big Kakaru fan at the start of this. I was like, he's our protagonist. He's the guy we got to follow around for this show. I don't know. Yeah. Haven't watched this anime. Oof. Don't mind me. Don't mind the spoilers. Okay, Keely. You should still go back and watch it. I highly 10 out of 10 recommend. But yeah, Kakaru, the first couple episodes, I was like, okay, all right, I get it. He's had something happen to him in the past that has made him not like running. Okay. And then at the tournament or at the first track meet they go to in episode 7, like just seeing how uncomfortable he is with how lax everyone is at the tournament. Like the twins are running around chit-chatting and people are taking pictures and looking through magazines. And then Kakaru's just like, why aren't you focused on the race? This is really important. And so, he gets all flustered and bent out of shape. And I was like, dude, what is your deal? And then episode 8, guys, I was like, oh no. I was about to have words. We were about to go out back Kakaru and have a talk because episode 8, I was like, that whole ending with him and Prince, I was just so angry at him and how he was ignoring Haiji and walked away from the conversation. I was like, Haiji's not done talking to you. And then suddenly a switch flips. And from episode 9 on, his character just slowly grows. It's like a switch was flipped and then Kakaru's character just slowly changes. And I think Haiji making him watch, he had to get out of all the brainwashing. Haiji making him watch the race and Prince having him run behind Prince and see how Prince is running and helping with that. And then by the time we get to episode 13 and you see Kakaru's past, it all makes sense. It's all like, oh, that's why. That's why you are the way that you are. Okay. Is the sports anime genre my favorite? I'll be honest. The only sports anime I have watched are Haikyuu, this show. I'm reading Slam Dunk. And if you count it free, which I count it, it involves a sport. So yeah, those 4 are the only ones I've watched so far. I want to watch more sports anime though, now that I've seen these because they're good. 13, we might have to talk about top episodes. That's going to have to come up, Jacob, because 13's on there for me too. Definitely. But yeah, Kakaru is the most changed character, I think, in the show. And the part where he is literally just running in episode 22 and he's so serene and calm and everything looks like it's going in slow motion. And it's not, he's like the fastest one out there in the moment, but it's all just in slow motion to him. And he's just in his element. And then he just molts all of that away. He sheds that skin of all of his past and everything, his former self, and dons this new version of himself, at the end of episode 22. It's so good. He's a feral cat they all helped domesticate. He's the little stray that they took in, Haiji's little house of strays that he, collected together. And that's what we're doing. Oh man. Okay. So that's on growth. Now, I won't have much else to add as far as ranking characters just on character, and y'all can put which characters you all like too in this, but, I'll say number 9 and 10 on my least favorite characters out of the 10 are the twins. Joda and then Joji are probably my least favorite too. And I think it's only because, one, we don't get a lot about them. We don't get a lot on their backstory at all until the very end of the show. And by that point, they've started a lot of needless conflict where we're not surprised. Here's the thing though. I like all of the characters in this series. There's not a character that I hate. We'll get to number 1. There's not a character that I dislike in the show, except maybe, obviously, the coach, Kakeru's coach. No. And then Sakaki, I never liked Sakaki's character at all. But as far as the top runners, as far as our 10 guys go, I like all of them. But if I had to boot 2 people off the island first, it'd probably be the twins. I'd say Joda and Joji. I'm like, I don't know enough about you, and you were going to start conflict in episode 17, so you guys just stay in the back. Just go hang out and time out for a while. And that would be that. And then from there, honestly, this gets really hard, guys, because other than the twins, I really liked all of them. Now we're harshly ranking. Yes. Yeah. The weakest links are definitely the twins for me. But after that, it gets hard. It gets really hard. I'd say number 8 would be King, only because even though King made me cry in episode 22 and I finally got his character, it took 22 episodes to get it. And I think that episodes 5 and 6 that were King centered were 2 of my least favorite episodes in the series. So I had to put him 8 for that reason. But again, he's still a good character. And by the end of the show, you're like, oh, I get it, King. I get your whole shtick as a character. And it's really great. But yeah, the greatest thing that came out of the twins was Kakeru chasing them. I don't know about you all, but that sent me. I was like, oh, yeah, if you're going to be captain of the team next year, Kakeru, you will have no problem chasing down and being Demon Senpai like Haiji. You've got it made. You've got this. No problem. So then we have number 7. Number 7, I'm going to say, is Nico. I like Nico's character a lot. I think he's a good supporting character with the other characters around him. So like when he's around the twins and Prince getting the treadmill, when he's doing his thing with the metal thing around Yuki, like I thought Nico was a really good character. And I love the scenes with him and Haiji and the flashback of him. Like I really like it. I felt like we just didn't get a whole lot on Nico to build off of. I felt like we could have got more with Nico's backstory and maybe an episode more on Nico. And we didn't really get that. So I had to put him as 7th on there. So, okay, guys, I'll be honest. 6 and up, like I felt like those were pretty easy to rank. 6 and up gets a little bit harder, especially top 5. 6, only because we don't have a lot on him, is Musa. I love Musa. For the record, Musa being the romantic, Musa being the only one that knows which twin Hana likes. If it's either of them, I think it'd be hilarious if Hana was like, oh, they're my friends, but I really like Kakeru. And then it'd be like, ha, 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 the trolling, like only Musa knows. I love Musa's character, and I absolutely love how romantic he is, how he's like just part of the heart of the team, like holding everybody together along with Shindo, him and Shindo's friendship, all of that. I just wish we'd got more with Musa. I wanted more of him in this show. So that's why I put him down for number 6. But I mean, again, really, really good characters. Yeah. I thought there was a thing between Musa and Shindo. Yeah. Here's the fun thing. Now that until I finish a show, I don't get on Twitter or Tumblr and really delve into any fan art or any shipping or anything because I'm so scared of spoilers. And as soon as I finished the last episode, I was like, time to go on Tumblr and look up all the Run with the Wind stuff. And so that's what I did. And I definitely saw a lot of Musa and Shindo things too, which I totally get that. I definitely get that too. I have a little tiny segment on shipping. Not that we'll argue about any of that, right? To the internets, away. Yes. Number 5 for me, number 5 character is Prince. Prince, I feel like, is a very decisive character. I feel like people either really like Prince or they're like, No. I feel like Prince is kind of polarizing. I liked Prince from the start because I saw Prince as a character that was going to give our show and our other characters like learning lessons and motivation, and especially Kakaru. I was like, Prince is going to be the learning lesson for Kakaru because Prince is not a good runner, and so this is going to test Kakaru in how much patience does he have to deal with somebody that clearly is not a runner and is going to be the weakest one on the team. So I liked Prince for that, but I also like Prince's character because, I mean, Prince, he's so set in his convictions. Like when Kakaru was sitting in the circle in episode 13, Prince is like, well, you had a reason to punch the coach. I mean, you shouldn't have used violence and did it. You shouldn't have done this, but I mean, you had a reason, so don't beat yourself up about it. But obviously you shouldn't have done it, but it's not the end of the world. It's not like you just did it without any reason. Prince is the opposite of Kakaru. They're still similar in a lot of ways, but they're so different. Like, I feel like they're both stubborn characters. Yeah, they challenge each other. They're so set in their ways that they just butt heads. And I like that because it makes them both have to do something about it, right? So I liked Prince's character. I love the fact when he went out and bought himself or was trying to buy himself a treadmill, that I was like, Prince, you're wanting to become a runner. When he tries to run, like that whole episode 14 where he's like pushing his hair back and like running at night and everything. It's just, it's good stuff, guys. But Prince is right there smack in the middle. And then you asked me to rank 4 through 1. That's like picking apples and oranges, right? So I'll be honest, 3 and 4 were really hard. 3 and 4 were really hard because I almost want to consider it a tie. But I put 4 as Yuki. Number 4 is, I had to warm up from Prince at the beginning. Yeah, after 6 or 7, Prince, I think definitely gets good. Number 4 for me is Yuki. He has like some of the most growth in the show, and I like his character throughout. It's hard. Like numbers 4 through 1 are really close, but I think that Yuki ties with Shindo for me a bit because Yuki and Shindo, they've grown so much together over the course of the series. Shindo's my number 3 because he's just the heart of the team. Like Shindo, just his little drunken moments where he's like can't hold his liquor, and so he's just like tipsy and making all those statements, and he's got the rosy cheeks and everything. And then the whole issue with his girlfriend and the running and just making the website and his bond with Kakaru and Yuki and all of them, like just Shindo and Yuki both, they definitely were some of the biggest supports in the team by the end of the series. And I didn't expect it from Yuki. I didn't expect Yuki to like take as much charge as he did, but him and Shindo both, they're my ties for 3 and 4 because they both are such good characters. And then I don't think this should surprise anybody, but Kakaru's number 2. I mean, and I'm amazed when I was making this list. Wushin gave me this question. I was making this list, and I was going through everybody, and then I got to Kakaru, and I was like, is he my number 2? I didn't like him at all at the start of this. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to backtrack on the chat here. Fair Maiden Mel said if the foreshadowing on the flush of his cheeks was he was going to get sick. Oh gosh, what if it was? It'd be pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Kakaru, the last 3 episodes of Kakaru they're just amazing. Like his character being so happy, and episode 10 with him and episode 13 with him, like they're all so good. So good. All the top 5 have made me cry. It's hard to rank them. Yeah, top 5 are you're crying, like the reasons why you sob on this show, right? And then, okay, y'all know who number 1 is. It's no surprise. This character's been my number 1 since episode 2. Why should I be surprised that Haiji's up there? I was trying to think, Fair Maiden, I think it was you who was commenting on Patreon. You were like, can all my questions be why we just gush over Haiji? I was like, we can do this. Oh man. The love of my life, Haiji Kiyose, the real best boy. Y'all, oh my gosh, Haiji. Just Haiji. I cannot write. He's the reason why he's on my banner on YouTube. I was like, as soon as episode 2 aired, I was like, nope, Haiji's going up there. Best boy. It's the only reason I'm here. Can we talk about Haiji? Oh man. It's rare to have an anime where a character, just from start to finish, is so supportive despite everything that's happened to him. Like, it would be so easy for this show. And the reason why I think of college versus high school, it would be so easy if this had been the high school story for Haiji to be worried about getting into colleges and worried about getting scouted. And his dad was the coach. So if this had been taking place during high school, him and Fujioka's whole ordeal and the drama with that, like, it'd be so easy to just focus on that. But we get Haiji his 4th year of university. So we get him, as an adult. He's dealt with this issue for 6 years now, at least. And he's so positive and confident. And he's so good-spirited from start to finish. And he cares so much for his team. When he goes like, oh, you've been making us food for the last 4 years? And he's like, yeah, like, it's nothing, And the kitchen talks between Kakeru and Haiji, I would watch a whole show of just that. If we could just have the kitchen talks, like, as a serialized spin-off series, and then occasionally a character just peeks in and is like, hey, did you get curry done? Like, shut up, we're talking about existential drama. Get out. Then, yeah, I'd be all for it. Oh, man, Haiji. And Haiji, the kitchen talks, the Run with the Wind spinoff series. Hey, Haiji, he could just become a chef for his team, and Kakeru can come and chop them giant carrots that take 3 hours to cut, and that'll be our second season. It'll just be Kakeru cutting carrots while Haiji talks about the meaning of life, and that will be our whole thing. Yeah. And just from the very first episode we see Haiji in, that this has been massive carrots indeed. And then from the very first episode, the whole idea, yes, okay, I thought that Kakeru was going to chop off a finger too. That whole first episode, when that guy in the bathhouse is like, okay, Haiji, this is your last chance to get this team together. It's your last year. I was like, oh, crud, he's going to graduate. And if they don't make this, then what do they do, right? And then I'm glad the chat has devolved into like talking about how Kakeru, I was concerned that he was going to chop his finger off while cutting those giant carrots. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. The Meaning of Running by Haiji. Yeah. I would watch a whole spinoff series of Haiji's coaching adventures, of him being a coach. I would watch I'm going to write that down. Luan Juarez. I've got that down. Don't worry. But yeah, I'd watch a whole spinoff of Haiji just coaching his team. And we get to see like maybe Kakeru comes in to like help one day or something. And because that was one of the best moments for me in the finale, was from the start of the show. I was like, man, Haiji be a good coach. He'd be a really good coach. I think he'd be a great, he could do this. He could. And Sakaki even confused him for the coach the first time that he met him. He was like, oh, hey, the coach in your team. He's like, oh, no, I'm a runner. And I was like, oh, and then when you find out that his dad was the coach for the track team and you see kind of how his style was, I was like, oh, well, Haiji's he's kind of had a similar experience to Kakeru, where his coaching style wasn't exactly what he needed in that moment. And so him becoming a coach later on, oh, it's just so good. Yeah, him and smiling. That smile at the end. I'll be honest, guys, and you guys have seen episode 22. That preview, what a tease. What a horrible tease. The preview for episode 23 was just that shot of Haiji opening his eye. I'll be honest, when I watched that, I was like, oh, I'm not waiting a week. No. We're watching this final episode now. How dare you, preview? Not since the days of Given have I had such tease with a preview before. That was, or lack thereof in that case. It was like, that's awful. How dare I was very mad. I was like, no, how dare they? And just, but yeah, I think we all can agree that Haiji is just like the reason this show has been so good from start to finish, is that just his support, how much week to week. Oh, I can't imagine waiting a week. That would be awful. and then just not knowing. And plus, I want to talk about, we're talking about the soundtrack and the sound design. You guys are talking in the chat about it too. So that was one of the things I wanted to note about the soundtrack. But Luan, we'll go ahead and talk about that. The soundtrack for this series, and the use of sound design in this series is so good. So good. And it really didn't hit me completely until episode 12, when they go to the camp, the summer camp, and they have like, they're out running in the park and out in the woods and stuff, and you can kind of hear the wind. And that's kind of the first preview. And then in episode 13, we get the flashback with Kakaru, the grisly, grainy sounds of the flashback, where it just slowly gets more muffled, and it feels suffocating. Like he's slowly like just losing consciousness until he punches the coach. Like that sound design, like even watching it from my computer, I was like, oh, it hits your ears different. And then, so I can't imagine if you were using headphones. And then just the last couple episodes where we get to see the sounds for each of the runners is so good. Like Shindo, someone commented in the reaction the week that it aired about Shindo. We get to hear the inner monologues of characters, but with Shindo, it's his breathing. And he's sick. Because he's sick, he's not thinking. He's not internally thinking. He's just run. I'm sick. I need to run. Let's go. And you just hear that breath and that wind, and it's so like unsettling. And then for Kakaru, it's so calm and peaceful. And then the thing about the soundtrack that got me was in episode 23, when we hear Haiji, and you guys on YouTube hear it next week, and it just totally threw me for a loop. But Haiji, his knee, that metal scraping in his knee, that just, it was like nails on a chalkboard, just so unsettling, where you're like, nope. And he's like, come on, knee, just keep going. And it's like tears. You're like, Haiji, no. And knowing in hindsight, knowing the creaking knee, knowing that that's what Haiji's been hearing this whole time throughout this whole series, and we, the audience, are just now hearing it. It's like, oh no. Like that just like sent chills. Wu mentions the voice acting. So I'm curious if anybody in the chat has watched the dub, because I've watched the dub. I'm curious if anybody else has, because I couldn't get any more. Okay, KG. Oh man. Yeah, I want to talk about that in a second. The dad. I'm curious if any of y'all have watched the dub. The dub is wild. Here's the thing about the dub, because usually very rarely do I start with a dub. Now, when I was first watching, when I first watched some anime in the 90s and stuff as a kid, I watched the dub because that's all we had. There weren't subs. You couldn't just, finding the original subtitles was like finding a treasure. You're like, oh, the original voice actors. Oh my gosh. So I'm used to dubs. And there's some series that I watched that having seen the dub first, watching the subs is kind of weird. So I'm like, like Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. I watched the dub first. There is a dub, Kai. Yes, it's on High Dive. It's fine. it's if you've watched Rocky Horror Picture Show and Columbia, she goes, it's okay. It's fine. It's okay. Like that's my view of the dub, of the Run with the Wind dub. It's okay. It's not bad. I was afraid when I started watching it that I would hate it. But the thing I like about the dub for this show is that it does follow the script pretty much word for word, to the point where I'm like, how did they say those lines? Because the dub for Run with the Wind follows the transcript for the sub, like beat for beat, to the point where I'm like, how did you guys fit that in a sentence and make it work? It's kind of weird. It's fine. The voice for Haiji in the dub is good. I like the voice for Haiji and Kakaru. I don't think there's not any known voice actors for the series, so it wasn't distracting for me. That's a thing. We've talked on Patreon about this, and we've talked in the Discord about this, that sometimes VAs for English dubs can be real. Oh God. Oh, Snarksadoodle. Hi Q. That dub. Oh, buddy. I have thoughts. But here's the thing with English dub, there's not nearly as many voice actors that are as widely known or used. So I think the problem with the dub is sometimes the dub scripts leave outlines or they mistranslate. I think of the Haikyuu dub when I think of that. Unfortunately, the Haikyuu dub changes so much from the script to make it fit that it bothers me a lot sometimes. But I think with the Run with the Wind dub, I love the Haikyuu dub. Okay, there are parts of the Haikyuu dub that I do like, and there are parts of it that I'm like, why did you do that, show? I will say this. EQ, in your defense, I will play devil's advocate in your defense. Oikawa's dub for Haikyuu, I'm all for. And there's other dub character VAs. The VA for Tendo in the Haikyuu dub is good too. But with the Run with the Wind dub, there's not any known VAs, and so it wasn't distracting to me. My point was that in some English dubs, the VAs, them picking some like big name voice actors, it gets distracting, right? So I know some of you can probably think of some VAs that you're like, as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, I know who that is, and it can be distracting. But with the Run with the Wind dub, it's okay because it's fine. It's just okay. For just having fun, Haikyuu dub is good. The Haikyuu dub, here's my thing about the Haikyuu dub. It's fine. It's problematic sometimes when they try to throw in like some swear words or something randomly, and some of the lines that they interpret, I'm like, okay. But for the most part, it's fine. I watched the Haikyuu dub first, actually. So I actually watched the dub for Haikyuu before I watched the sub. I watched it up through season 3. And then obviously they didn't have a season 4 dub yet. So I started watching season 4 with the sub. And then I went back and rewatched with the sub too. Yeah, Steve Bloom, every time you hear it spike. That's how I am with Johnny Young Bosch. I'm like, it's Ichigo. Every time. I'm like, oh yeah, you. I've only watched 600 episodes of Bleach. I only know that. So yeah, I get that. Christopher Sabat. Yeah, which here's the cool thing about Johnny Young Bosch, and I'm eventually going to talk about Demon Slayer on here at some point. I want to do a soapbox on Demon Slayer at some point because I've watched the first season, and they've just released the dub of Demon Slayer, and I like the dub of Demon Slayer. It's pretty good. Yes, I like the dub for it, and I like the sub. Johnny Young Bosch is Gyu. Oh gosh, I probably just butchered his name, but the French dub of Haikyuu. Oh, that'd be fun. But yeah, he voices a character in Demon Slayer, and I instantly knew who his character was. Like as soon as he started talking, I was like, oh, it's Johnny Young Bosch. But I feel like there's enough people. Johnny Young Bosch has been removed from anime, like mainstream anime, for enough years that maybe people don't instantly recognize him. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Fell the Wind. Interesting. J. Michael Tatum. Oh, yeah, he's good too. Aaron Dismuke is good too. There's a lot of good English voice actors, but I feel like there's not nearly as many as Japanese. So it's so easy for us to distinguish them that it can be distracting in the dubs. So I don't usually start with a dub unless it's highly recommended. Now there's some that I like that I'll watch and be like, oh yeah, the dub for sure. Like Full Metal Alchemist, I'll do the dub. Yu Yu Hakusho, I'm watching that with Semblance of Sanity right now. I love the dub for Yu Yu Hakusho. It's so good. It's so cheesy and 90s and wonderful. But yeah, us old timers recognize. Yeah, we know the old dubs because there's only like 5. It's like the BBC. There's only 5 actors. We've got to keep using all of them. So yeah, Cowboy Bebop is the only one I've seen the dub. Oh, the dub for Cowboy Bebop's good. I do like Cowboy Bebop. What a gem. Okay, so there is something I want to share with Oren's dub. Yeah, definitely. Let me see. I want to share a link with you guys on here. All right. Share this link. The good old Adult Swim back in the day. I need to do a thing about Adult Swim. What a gem. Okay. So, Wooshin here in the chat sent me a link about a week ago to because this whole series, Run with the Wind, is based off a light novel. And so this Tumblr account, this fair weather person, this saint, is translating the novel from Japanese to English chapter by chapter, doing the Lord's work. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine translating an entire novel just just for the benefit of everybody else, just for fun. Oh yeah, it's the full novel. It is, yeah. Now she's only on the novel's 12 chapters long, and she's on chapter 6. Yeah, so she's on chapter 6 of translating, and I've been reading along with it. And so that link there that I just put in the chat is to it, and she's updating it. Like she just updated it like a day ago with a new part of a chapter. The novel is 590 pages long. 590 pages. Yes, thank you, Wushin, so much. I can't believe it's that long, which it's a whole series, so of course it's that long. But she is translating chapter by chapter, bit by bit. It's really good. I'm really enjoying it so far. It's basically a really good translation. But there's one thing that stood out for me from when I started reading it, and it's at the very first chapter in the prologue. The prologue starts with Haiji seeing Kakeru on the bike, and there's a shooting star that goes by. And in the very last episode, when the camera pans up to the sky and Kakeru says, "Hey, do you like running?" a shooting star goes by. And it's like, okay, book. All righty. Okay. But yeah, the whole shooting star thing. And when they're on the balcony looking up at the stars, when Haiji's like, "Oh, look at the stars. Aren't they great?" And you see that, and it's just, there's a shooting star there. It's like, okay, good thing. Yeah, we're going on about translations. Vic Mignogna, KG. Yeah, I will be honest. I watched one episode of the free dub, and I could not watch any more because I heard Vic Mignogna's voice. It threw me off and distracted me so much that I was like, no, that's not who that character is. And then I just had to stick with subs. So I was like, I might go back and rewatch the whole thing in the dub eventually. But for now, I'm like, oh, do I ship Haiji? Oh, Pinsuan, do I ship Haiji with Kakeru? Well, that was my next point on here to talk about shipping. Do I ship Haiji with Kakeru? I'm going to say the only 3 words I can say are, it's love, damn it. Are we jumping to the shipping portion? What? Who, me? Ship Haiji with Kakeru? What? Oh, man. Here's the thing, and we talk about ships. There's not a whole, I mean, I'm curious with you all because Hana's like she's the only girl in this whole show other than Shindo's girlfriend that vamooshed real quick. It's you. Yes. She can't be a sports anime without a golden ship. Yeah. I don't know how you could watch this show and not get the context because it's all there. I mean, if you're seeing each other as glowing figures running on a single strip line towards each other, what else are we going to call that? What else are we calling that? I mean, if Kakeru loves running and Haiji equals running, then yes, Kai, I think that the formula speaks for itself. Yeah, Nico and Yuki, Shindo and Musa, there's whole, yeah, he's running sexual, it's love, damn it. That's right. That whole, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think, wasn't this series originally supposed to be BL? Wasn't it originally? Wushin, I think you might have been telling me about originally, which if that's the case and they changed it in post-production, yeah, if that's what they changed post-production, I see it because I see where it very well could be, especially from like the last half of the season. I get it. I mean, how many times did Haiji have his hand on Kakeru's shoulder being like, "Hey man, it's okay." like I'll be your anchor. It's like, oh, Haiji. And then, I mean, it's you at the very end. I don't know how anybody else interprets that the reason why I run. It's you. I just don't know. I don't know how else you can interpret that. And he sees him as a golden ray of light, just like he saw him as a blue, and it's blue and yellow. It's opposite colors. It's just so much emotional intimacy. The moon is beautiful. Yeah, that trope. The stars sure are lovely. It's like, yeah, sure thing. You're just bros. We're just bros standing 5 feet apart. No, we're social distancing. It's totally fine. I will say this. If there was anybody else I would ship Haiji with, I do think it's Haiji Kakeru for sure. But I just want to talk about Fujioka for like a hot second, because I feel like that guy, if there were a sequel, here's my deal. The whole thing with Fujioka, how? Yeah, Fujioka, I mean, best friendo to Haiji. I definitely see something like him being so supportive of Haiji and like all the time. She is Fujioka's man. I mean, Fujioka, here's the thing. I love Fujioka. Fujioka absolutely ships himself with Haiji. For real. For real. He's just a good dude. And I'll be honest, those of you that have watched Haikyuu, I mean, the Rikadu Shiratorizawa parallel, you couldn't be more obvious, right? You couldn't be more obvious. I mean, the purple and white, they're the top school. Fujioka, the Ushijima parallels are pretty much there. But here's the thing. I like Fujioka. Fujioka's character is a lot different than Ushijima. Like Fujioka stands out a lot more, I think, in terms of this show. And he's so kind and considerate. And yeah, we see your tropes. He's so kind and considerate. And he is Daichi's voice actor, which is, I automatically trust him. Yeah, he's just the perfect captain figure. Just the fact that he had so much respect for Haiji, but he was also so courteous and respectful of Kakeru and Musa. Like when he meets them out in the street, he could have just ignored them. He could have just been like, oh, hey, what's up? And just walked away. But he was like kind enough to have a conversation with them. And I thought that was really cool. And then he follows them, and you should have come to Rikadu. That's all I could think of, Snarksadoodle, whenever they had the flashback with Haiji. And when they had the flashback with Haiji, and he's like, you should come to Rikadu. And it's like, you should have come to Shiratorizawa. Like, that's it's the same parallel. But he's like, nope, already made my decision, my literature student decision. But here's my thing. Okay, Fujioka, at the end of this race, you say you're going to keep on, that Kakeru is going to be the reason you keep running. Where is he running? I felt like I missed something, because I was like, he's done with the Ekiden. He can't do it anymore. Is he just going to be, in Japan, are there professional marathon runners that he's just going to like run up Mount Fuji and back? Is that going to be a thing? Is he going to set these records? That's the only part of the show that I got a little bit confused at the end on. Okay, professional corporate teams. And that's kind of like what Haiji's coaching, the Olympics and things like that. Okay, Jacob and Fair Maiden Mel, that makes a lot more sense. So I'm assuming here's our sequel series. Haiji's coaching this corporate team. Fujioka becomes a runner on it. And then they're going to go to the Olympics, and then Kakeru has to go to the Olympics too. We're going to do this freestyle and keep going, right? Sure. That makes a lot more sense. International events. Run with the World. That'll be our sequel. Run with the World. We'll just do that. We'll just do a whole international Olympic series that he respects so much since the beginning. Yeah, I also think Fujioka, Luan, when you said that also helped add to Haiji's mystery of his copyrighted. I'm going to do it now. I think that also added to Haiji's mystery is that Fujioka was like hyping him up so much. He's like, oh, this team is very Kiyose-like, and oh, you should know his name. And if he was at top form, he'd be running a lot better than this. And that just kept me so hyped for Haiji's character. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to find out so much more about him. And so like, he's such a Haiji fanboy that it's like, yes, please. But he's also so nice. Like the flashback where Fujioka's like, don't give up, keep running. It's like that just, it goes to show it was such a parallel to me, Kakeru and Haiji's, because in Haiji's high school career, he had someone like Fujioka to support him. And even though he couldn't run anymore for the time being, he had someone supporting him when he went off to college that kept inspiring him. Whereas on the flip side, Kakeru didn't really have any friends. Like it shows him with Sakaki and the others, but they're all kind of talking behind his back about the other runners. So he doesn't have that developed relationship and doesn't have that support system, so that he just collapses whenever his team collapses. And Haiji, on the other hand, even though he has a setback, he's still motivated to keep moving forward. So it's a kind of a nice parallel showing how much good, positive influence somebody can have on your life if they're just there for you. So yeah, Fujioka never disrespected Haiji's team. Like he was, yeah, even when Kakeru was doubting it, Fujioka was like, no, it's very Kiyosei-like. Like that all makes sense. But someone brought it up earlier, and I wanted to add this in here about the dad, Haiji's dad. That I didn't expect it to get me as much as it did in the last episode. And those of you that have seen it on Patreon, just, oh my gosh. Because we've been led up to Haiji's dad. We know he's a coach. We get the idea, be patient. Oh, that line, be patient. Oh, just sent me. I was like, oh, it paid off. Yeah, Jacob in the chat there. Because when we get the glimpses of his dad, I very much had okay, well, he's kind of like Kakeru's coach. He just wasn't, and Haiji makes the comment that his dad hardly says anything to him, and then we find out that it's his dad. And then there's a scene where he's leaving to go to track practice, and it's so sad at first because he's like, well, Haiji's got to do his thing, I've got to do my thing, and he's not going to stay behind with Haiji's mom to watch the race. And at first I was like, oh, that's awful. Like, how would your son that hasn't ran in 6 years can now finally run in this race, and you're going to ignore it? And then when they cut to that moment on the track and he's got the headphones in, and the part that just did it for me is he was clutching the stopwatch the same way that Haiji clutched the stopwatch when Prince qualified and when Kakeru slowed down to help Prince. He clutches it the same way. And oh my gosh. And he was listening, and he was just having this emotional moment, and we never see his face. Just like how we don't see Haiji's face when he's about to cry, we never see the dad's face. Yeah, he was more just of a stern dad. He was just really set in his ways. Oh man, just, yeah, the stopwatch it's shaking in his hand, just like Haiji is when he saw Kakeru slow down for him. And that's what got me. I was like, oh, it's the parallel, like his dad's doing the same thing. Oh, yeah, that's just so good. Like, I was really glad that they ended his dad like on a positive note, of being proud of his son. And there's no need for words. There's no need for dialogue. There's no need for anything. And I like how Haiji notes that the sky's overcast and cloudy. It's just like how it was at home. So he's grown up in this overcast, cloudy world. And then now he gets to run out where it's this beautiful, like sunny blue skies, and everything is just like the symbolism, y'all. The symbolism. Just best boy and best coach. Yeah, I can't get over the fact that Haiji's going to be a coach. I'm like, my heart swells. I'm so happy for him. It's just, you're not too late to the party. And hopefully this all gets recorded so you can go back and see our chat and how we've all been just basically gushing over Haiji in this show. So no, you're not too late to the party. I do have a question for you all. I do have a question. So in the final episode, they send Musa, they question Musa on who was it the Hana liked. Was it Joda or Joji? I'm curious what you all think. Because in episode 22, Hana is asking about, okay, where's Joji? Where's Joji? And that is so hilarious. Like the look that Yuki and Nico give Musa, they're like, find out now. And they're like nudging him and like, come on, go ask her. And, welcome to the Haiji gushing party. Yes. So I'm curious, y'all, do you think, did Hana like Joda or Joji, or neither? As both. Okay. Joji for sure. Both. Oh my gosh, it's 3 a.m, Divins of Onion. Holy cow. Oh, thank you for staying up that late. Simple answer, both. I like that the show was clever enough to give us that. I couldn't tell them apart. Joji was the one that gave the sash to Shindo. Joji was the one that was planning on keeping on running from the start, and then Joda changed his mind and kept running after the race. That's the only way I know them apart either. I like that the show cleverly had it to where the boys were like, oh, we decided we weren't going to ask her out until after we graduated. It's like, okay, so there's never been a confession. There's never been a rejection. It's just been simmering in the background. One had a necklace. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Fair Maiden Mill. Ooh, Jacob, that would be hilarious if she's like, oh, I actually like this person all along. And Moose is like, I'm not saying a word. Nope. Not taking it to the grave, right? Just going to take it to the grave. I honestly don't know. They kept the mystery of it. And I kind of like that because I would have felt bad. It seemed like both boys kind of liked her to an extent. So I'm glad that they left it a mystery. It's ambiguous for us to try to guess who liked who. And I kind of appreciate the show was like, we're not going to give you an answer. You figure it out. I did miss that with the necklace. I did not see that at all. I am going to have to go back and look at that now because I didn't even pay any attention to that. Get them, boys. Yeah, I love that. I love Prince's like, get them. Just, Okay. So, don't know, which character development do you like the most besides? Oh, yeah. Luan. Yeah, Yuki's character growth, holy cow. Just from start to finish. I didn't think that the guy that was getting pestered by Haiji in the club would eventually have bloody feet and be okay with it. Yes, Hana's design in okay, let's talk about the time skip. We're there. We're at the time skip. That threw me completely by surprise. I had no clue that was coming. I didn't expect that. I was like, okay, we're going to end with the race. We're going to end with them all coming together. And I thought it was just going to have them all embracing Haiji and then cutting to black. And yet you caught me as bracelets. Shush. Some things slip past me and I'm only human. I can't help it. Okay. Fair Maiden Mill said she had an article about running. Every large company has its own professional runner. So it's kind of like with Haikyuu that there are like municipal teams and stuff like that. Okay, cool. All right, so time skip, guys. I didn't see it coming. I thought the whole show was going to end with Haiji getting embraced. They were all going to come together, and then it was just going to fade to black, and that was going to be it. I was like, there's the show. And then I looked down because I've always got the timer on, and I looked down. I was like, there's like 5 minutes left. What are we doing? And then there's that scene of the epilogue. I wasn't expecting it, and I love it so much. I had to go back and rewatch that whole last scene during the reaction after the episode was over. I was like, I need to go back because so much stuff was happening. I was going to miss it. I was like, but Musa's goatee, Musa getting facial hair, Prince and King have jobs, Shindo with his badass moto jacket, like looking like so cool. Yuki's grown out his hair. Yuki grew his hair. Nico cut his hair. Kakeru looks the same. We needed that epilogue, yes. And I like how Kakeru and Joda and Joji are kind of still the same because they're still in college mode. Haiji looked more mature in that episode. And it was so cool. Haiji looked like he kind of grew up. And then, yeah, Nico cut his hair. And Nira, we established this at the beginning of the episode, Kai. Nira, MVP, the most on my list here. I only included our 10 runners. I did not include Nira, who has had the most growth in this whole series. Prince looking stylish with his suit. Yeah, just everybody. Just seeing them all. Yeah, okay, Raquel. Yeah, Haiji limping, and his ankles look so small coming into frame. Like that part, I was like, oof. But he's a coach, so it's totally fine. Nira's a total player. I don't know. It was so good, and seeing Haiji with the bottles of sake, and he's like, "We're going to drink tonight, Kakeru." It's like, yeah, you are. It's like, oh yeah, they're all old enough to do that now. Kakeru doesn't have to have just tea anymore. He's old enough he can actually drink, and it's legal. It's like, yeah, Haiji looked more grown up. Yeah, exactly. Just what I said for Maiden Mill. Like, he's like, you're old enough now. We can have sake. It's all good. Jinx. And I loved seeing them all grown up. And I was really sad they were tearing down the apartment, the dorms. But I'm hoping they rebuild them. That poor old man. My theory is that the twins were there long enough. They put so many holes in the floor, they had to tear it down. There was just no options. There's too many whole floors, not enough magazines. It's all too much. And then seeing Hana with her hairdo, like you guys said in the chat, like Hana being grown up and being, I guess she would be, a second or third year in college. And then seeing the team, like the team was huge. Like their team had 17 or 18 guys on it now. It was like, what? They had like a full team and then some. Like that was the cool part, is that they all were together and Kakeru was leading them with Joda and Joji. And then I didn't notice it, y'all, until I went back and the new team. I didn't notice it until I actually went back and watched the dub version, because my routine had been with this show. I started with High Dive before I had a Crunchyroll subscription. I started with High Dive. And then when High Dive was over, I'd go back and watch it in the Crunchyroll version. And then I found out there was a dub. And so around episode 13, I started going back and rewatching it with the dub. I didn't notice this until the very end, but in the dub version, at that very last scene where they're running with the new team, it goes back and all the voices doing that final monologue are all the different teammates' voices. And then it ends with Kakeru saying, "Hey, do you like running?" And I was like, and then Kakeru gets to say the line that Haiji said at the beginning, and it all comes full circle. It all comes back around. And it was like, yeah. To be fair, around the time of the qualifiers, there was interest, but Haiji told him to stay off until the Ekiden. That's true. So a lot of those guys could have just came back in and then got on while they were seated. I like to think that they stay seated the rest of the series while Kakeru was in college. I like to say that they stayed seated. That's my headcanon. Were there any other, Defensive Onion, were there any other high-Q Easter eggs in Run with the Wind besides the OST and Hinata being mentioned? Hinata was mentioned. What? I didn't know that he was mentioned. I feel so... Y'all are giving me reasons to go back and watch this whole series over again. Oh my gosh. He was. By Prince. By Prince in the when he was referencing all of the sports anime protagonists. Okay, yes. Yeah, of course Hinata is being referenced. Yeah. That's a really good question, Fair Maiden Mill. I'm wondering who stayed on the team, because the ones graduating were Haiji and Yuki for sure, right? And was King a fourth year as well, or was King a third year? I think King was a third year, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure. And then Nico was a third year because he got held back a year. So I don't know if Nico stayed on, or I'd like to think that Shindo stayed on. I like to think that Musa stayed on, and Joji and Joda obviously stayed on. I don't know about King and Nico. They're the ones that I'm like, I don't know if they graduated or stayed on, but at least I think Musa and Shindo did. And I think Prince would as well, just because Prince doesn't want to move. And it's one of those things, like, Prince made all this effort. Prince had 2 more years of college left. He made all that effort. So why wouldn't he stay on, right? Why wouldn't he? When you guys said high-Q Easter eggs, I was thinking of Jujutsu Kaisen and that shot of, there's a Oikawa cardboard cutout, looks like Oikawa in one of the rooms. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, if they became a powerhouse after that 10th place. I like to think that as long as Kakeru was on the team throughout university at Kansai, that they stayed in the top 10. I'm pretty sure. I'd like to think that Kakeru ran at least 3 other legs and made records in at least 3 more of them, The cardboard cutout, for sure. So, I don't know. We talked about this earlier, whether or not you guys think there should be a second season. I think it ends. It's so hard because this is one of those shows that, on the one hand, I want it to keep going. And see it continue to develop. But on the other end, it ends so perfectly that it's like, what do you all do? So, yes, Defensive Onion. Right before episode 22, people have been telling me to go watch the actual Ekiden. And so I went on YouTube, and you guys can go on there too. I would recommend looking up the 2020 Ekiden. Oh my gosh. Like that got me in the mood for episode 22 and 23. Huh. Oh my gosh. Like just, it's crazy because when I was watching this anime, I was thinking, oh, they're exaggerating on some of the stuff with the running. Like the part at the end of the qualifier where everybody's like passing out and like sweating and getting drug off the field. I was like, oh, well, it's an anime. They're exaggerating it just a little bit, you know. And then you watch the actual Ekiden where there are literal stretchers coming out and people like getting carted off and like passing out and hyperventilating and just having hypothermia maybe. And you're like, oh my gosh, insane. Like it got me to really think, okay, this anime is not skimping around. They're not exaggerating. It's really like this. And that made me appreciate the show that much more, knowing how realistic and close to the actual sport it is throughout it. I agree with you all. I don't think a second season, but an OVA would be really cool. Like an OVA of them all coming together would be neat. Of just seeing a day in the life of everybody post Ekiden, even if it's like right before the dorms are destroyed or right after. Yeah, just I think that would be good. The live action. Oh yeah, Wushin, you brought that up. The live action movie. I've not watched the live action movie, but there was a scene that I did watch on YouTube that was the final leg of the race where Haiji meets up with Kakeru, and the live action one, Haiji is just limping along, and it's so dramatic, and it's like, oh my gosh, it just like tore my heart out. It was like here you go. Yeah, no joke at all. I appreciate the anime for doing that because it made me appreciate it that much more, that they weren't exaggerating it. It was real life. That's what was happening. Oh, that would be really cool, Defensive Onion, if they put some of the Run with the Wind characters in the background of season 5 of Haikyuu. Come on, IG. It's the same universe, right? Same universe. We can do that. Just have them running around in the background. We can do that. Sure thing. So, yeah, just this series, guys. First of all, those of you that voted for it way, way back, like 5 months ago, holy cow. I did not think going into the show that I would get that attached to it, that it would be, and I say this in the final episode reaction, you know, some shows you end and it's really like feel good. Like you just feel like when I watch Free, I want to feel good. So I'm like, yeah, when I feel like torturing myself, I'll watch Banana Fish. But when I view Run with the Wind, it's like a soul cleanse. It's just like a spiritual just show that is so moving and inspiring. It makes me want to go run. Like I can't wait for it to get nice outside because I just want to go run now. And then, yeah, Kakeru passing Kageyama as they are out for a run. Yeah, because the Haikyuu characters do run, so there's a good chance they could see each other. I just want a shot of like Haiji running by with Nira in the background. You just see a dog and the guy running by with Nira just on a jog. That's all I need. I just need to see that and it'll be good. But so good. It's such a good show. And so I'm really thankful that you all voted for it and that it won, because it's definitely one that I will be able to go back and rewatch. It's got a lot of replayability, one, because it's one season, but two, what? No, I'm sorry. I got distracted by the chat. Somebody said Kakeru. Oh, Kakeru and Kageyama were cousins. Okay. For a second, I thought you said Kakeru and Haiji, and I was like, no. I could see that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's one of those shows I think I can go back and rewatch and then get a lot of replayability because it was only one season. And then they end up doing an OVA for it. You know, I'm all for it. We should petition it and then I'll react to it. It'll be great. But I definitely am excited. That link with the novel, guys. There's been a couple people join the chat late. I'll post it again here. But it's a link to the novel that's being translated. So I'm excited to at least get to read that and get to see the light novel in English and read it. That'll be a lot of fun. But so, yeah, at this point, I did want to bring up that the poll ended today for the show replacing this. You guys probably know what won. I'm hoping. You guys probably voted for it. Oh, well, you know. Wushin, I read your comment there. So yeah, so the polls closed on what show is replacing Run with the Wind. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm pretty excited. And by pretty excited, I mean I've been hyped for weeks, but I've been leaving it in your all hands. So I'm like, I'm going to leave it in the hands of the voters, and whatever happens, happens. But I've been secretly excited if this one show wins, because I've been seeing it on my Twitter account. Oh no, Kai! I've been seeing it on my Twitter account, and it's driving me crazy. To be fair, Kai, I will eventually, here's the thing about the polls. If I am still allowed to react to things and post them on here, I'm eventually going to get to those shows that were on the polls. So if it didn't win, that's okay, because I'm going to get to it. I was really hoping for another tie. Oh, Defensive Onion. Oh, I was freaking out for a good solid hour, being like, 2 more shows. Okay, all right, we'll do this. This is fine. This is okay. We can find time and do this. Yeah. It was really close. There were only 3 votes. 3 votes that, oh no, Basic Otaku. Dude, I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to go back. We're getting to the point where we're talking about what show won the poll. Yeah. So there were 3 votes that separated the first and second place show. Yeah, it's all right. This is gonna be recorded for posterity. It'll be good. We'll get to go back and see everything. And then, oh man. Okay. Yeah, so it was neck and neck between March and Skate, and by 3 votes. Do not think that your vote doesn't count, because it in fact does. 3 votes separated it, and it's Skate. It's Skate the Infinity. And so I'm not gonna lie, I've been pretty hyped up about this show for a couple weeks. Since I first put it on the poll, I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to put it on here. I've heard good things. We'll see what happens. And y'all voted for it. So that's, Jacob, I don't know what skate is either. I just know it's skateboards. Your guess is as good as mine. So, okay, so they're up to episode 9 now. Okay, I know the only thing I know about Skate to the Infinity, the only things I know about it is that 1, it's 12 episodes. 2, it's about skateboarding. And 3, there are 4 characters who have different colored hair. There's one with green hair, one with pink hair, blue and red. So we've got our color wheel. We've got our contrasting colors, which I'm assuming is not for shipping purposes at all. I'm sure there's no shipping purposes at all with it. Sarune, I do eventually want to watch Sarune too. I've heard it's gorgeous. So of course not. Yeah, of course not. They wouldn't put contrasting colors. You don't have a dark haired and a light haired character in an anime. That there's no shipping there at all, right? Okay, and apparently, as Wushin just put in the chat, the director for Skate is the same director as Banana Fish and Free. We're mixing 2 worlds together. I've been ending the last 6 months. I've been watching Run with the Wind on one day, and then on another day, I would do Banana Fish and then Free right after it, because it's like the perfect balance, right? So the fact that, the fact that the same director's doing Skate, I'm okay with it. Defensive Onion, I'm reading your thing. March comes in like a lion. The manga got licensed in English. Cool. So yeah. So if y'all didn't want Skate to the Infinity, the good thing is that there's only 12 episodes. So then we'll go back to the poll again. But those of you that wanted Skate to the Infinity, I'm hyped about it. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to watch it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see what all this is about, to see what the hype is. I try not to get myself too hyped up for shows, but a lot of people have been like, the animation's great and the show's fun. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Competitive historic card. Oh, you're talking about Chirifuru. Yep. Something we all need during these times. Short, sweet, and wholesome. Indeed. Indeed. And the production is the same person with Code Geass. Oh man, okay. So you're name dropping all these anime, y'all, that I like. So I'm pretty hyped up about it. I'm pretty cool. I'm hyped up. When am I going to start? As soon as this chat is over. Oh, maybe. I promise nothing. If you see me in this shirt for the first episode, then you'll know that I did. But yeah, wholesome. Kogios isn't exactly wholesome. Live stream the first episode. Oh gosh. I'm gonna test the waters with live streaming with Banana Fish, with Garden of Light and Private Option in the 21st. I'm gonna do that. It's Friday. Go for it. Hope you survive. Yeah. Okay, so you just watched the OP. Okay, cool. I've not even seen the OP. Like I said, the only thing that's been popping up is on Twitter. There have been lots of fan art of these 4 characters. I don't know who they are, but I hear Riki. That's the only one I know, and I think he's the red-haired one. I hear that. That's it. I know nothing about the show except for skateboarding, and people are like, animation, OP stuff, angst, fun. I'm like, okay, cool. Yay. We shall see. But yeah, so I do want to do these live streams. I think whenever a series gets done, whenever a series gets over on here and I'm done reacting to it, I do want to do like a live stream chat to talk with you all about it. I'll probably do like questions on Patreon to ask people about them, to do that, because that seemed like it worked out pretty good. So the next live stream chat I want to do, and then of course Discord, obviously there's going to be stuff all over the Discord. A pretty haired blue boy. Yes, Kai. Yeah. Somebody said lasagna. Interesting. So I definitely want to do a live stream whenever we finish a show and just do questions on here and talk about it. Because here's the thing, the worst part about the last episode reaction, and the thing I hate about it, is that I always feel like I'm leaving something out. Like there's something I don't talk about. And I'm like, I wish that I could just talk about it. And I forget about it. Like I went back and watched episode 23's reaction after I recorded it to get it edited. And I was like, oh, I didn't even talk about character growth. Didn't talk about any of that. So I was like, okay, we need to have a live stream to talk about this. And Wushin's exactly right. If you're on Patreon's Discord, it's chaotic. It's just random. Do what you do. So I've got 2 things I want to tell you guys on the chat right here before we do like a couple of last minute thingies. One is on the 21st of March. I'm sadly going to be away from my computer on the 14th when the last episode about Banana Fish airs. I'll be away from my computer, so I've got it recorded and set to go. But I want to do on March 21st a live stream chat where we talk about, don't worry, Otaku. That's why we have these live stream chats, so we can chat too about it. So it's all good. I want to do on the 21st a live stream for Banana Fish. And for that chat, we're going to talk about the manga. We're going to talk about, I am going to react to Private Option and Garden of Light live on that private chat, on that live stream. And so that's going to be exciting. I have the manga with Garden of Light in it, and I have a link to Private Option. So I'm really, really, really excited. That's going to be on March 21st. It's going to be in the morning Central Time. I'm going to do it the same time. I usually post Banana Fish episodes at 8 in the morning Central Time. So grab your coffee, grab your stuff, and we're going to basically talk about Banana Fish and the manga and Garden of Light and Private Option. And I feel like that's going to be a lot. Like I've almost chatted for 2 hours with y'all about Run with the Wind. I have a feeling Banana Fish is going to be an event. Like it's just going to be, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and it's just going to be crazy. But yeah, oh my gosh, I'm really excited about that. The other thing is that I've started doing this series called Soapbox, and it's just me talking about manga and anime that I've already read or watched that I won't be able to react to, because there's nothing worse than reacting to something you've already watched and being like, remember when that happened? And so what I want to do is I've done 3 Soapbox episodes about Daokusei, Sword of Hara, Obsession to Beloved, and thank you, Basic Otaku, and Blanc. So my next episode of Soapbox is hopefully going to air on March 26th. And it's going to be about My Hero Academia, because season 5 of My Hero Academia is coming out on the 27th. And I'm going to react to it because I love that series. But I feel like I need to talk about, I want to talk about seasons 1 through 4 first. So I'm going to do a soapbox about it. So that's so soon. Yeah. March 27th is going to be here before we know it. Like the 5th season's coming out like crazy, right? So yeah, the next stream is going to be March 21st. Where we do Banana Fish, and that's going to be a fun time. I don't know how many of you all have watched Banana Fish with me, but that has been a journey. And episode 23 comes out on YouTube this weekend. Episode 24 is next Sunday. And then the 21st, we're doing a live stream about Banana Fish and reading Garden of Light and Private Option. So I'm pretty excited. Yes, and My Hero Academia, I'm so ready to watch it with y'all and to talk, and it's going to be really, really excited. So I've got about 10 minutes left here on this chat. Do you guys have any questions? Anything about Run with the Wind that we didn't talk about? I feel like I've rambled all endlessly. Not surprising anyone, I'm sure. But is there anything about Run with the Wind that we didn't get to talk about? Those of you just joining in. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Luan. Yeah, this show is so underrated. And I will be honest, I don't watch a lot of reactors just for the sake of time. Oh, Basic Otaku, Run with the Wind is so worth it. We've gushed for 2 hours about it. It's so worth it. Yes, very much. We all agree the show's pretty good. I know, it's all right. I will say that I don't watch a lot of reactors just for the sake of time, and because of like work and everything. But I didn't even know about reactions until I started watching Murder of Birds and Semblance of Sanity doing RWBY reactions. And that's really the only reason I react to RWBY on here. Like I've watched RWBY since volume 3 and they're on volume 8 now. So I was like paying homage to that. I'm like, yeah. See my comment, Semblance of Sanity. I've watched their reactions for years. And then when all of this started, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. They're definitely a lot of fun. I eventually, my pipe dream is if I had like a dream scenario, because I don't know if you guys watch this with them, but they do One Piece readings every Tuesday on Twitch. And so I've been watching those because I read One Piece and I really like One Piece. And so I've been listening to their reactions, which are pretty good. Them doing like a reading of it. I don't know if anybody else on there watches, but my dream scenario is that I've heard Caleb on there talk about his disdain for Bleach. And one day I will do a soapbox on Bleach, and it will be a 3-hour rant because Bleach and I have such a tumultuous relationship that I feel like if I could ever just get Jacob and Caleb on there, we'd just rant for 3 hours about it. A dual stream, that would be awesome. They're probably like, who are you? I'm like, hey you. It would be so much fun. I've just heard Caleb be like, talk about Bleach, and I'm like, dude, I think we have the same thoughts, and we could just rant for a long time about it. Because I have many thoughts about that series, and eventually when I get around to doing it, it's going to be just a long video of me breaking down and analyzing what's good and bad about it. Thank you very much. But yeah, one day I'll be like, you guys, you don't know me, but we should talk about a series and it'll be a lot of fun. Oh, Bleach. Yeah. Okay, Nathali, I was just thinking that when Burn the Witch came out back in October, I haven't watched it, but I've read the manga of it and I've been thinking about watching it. And that's kind of what made me want to do Soapbox to start with, because I was like, I want to talk about series, and I have so many emotions about, you can't see it from here, but that whole cabinet back there, most of it's Bleach manga, and I have lots of thoughts. So eventually it will happen. And they've done Snarks Doodle, they have done the collab for Haikyuu. If they go back and do another Haikyuu collab, oh, I would love to. But I've read the manga for Haikyuu and they have not, so I'd really have to censor myself and try not to spoil, because that's the one thing. That is the one thing. Oh, Bleach, it's complicated, Jacob. That's all I can say. My emotions about it are complicated. Eventually I'll do a soapbox about it and rant for a long time. But of all the anime that I'm watching right now, Haikyuu and My Hero Academia, I do keep up with the manga for those. And so, Defensive Onion, oh, good. Yeah. So for Haikyuu and My Hero Academia, I do read the manga for those. So I am spoiled to what's happening, but I want to see it in animated form and see how they handle it. So that kind of gets me excited to watch it. But there's other series that I am not reading the manga for. Like I'm not reading the manga for Jujutsu Kaisen. So please no one spoil me. I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen in real time, and I am not doing the manga for it. So Fair Maidendale, I think Urahara it has a type now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then so, but yeah, that's just, I'm pretty excited. And Mappa, you know, IG did Run with the Wind. IG and Mappa, they're just doing lots of things. Season 5 of Haikyuu is going to kill you. Oh, Jacob, are you a manga reader or an anime only? You're not wrong. That's the one thing about Run with the Wind. At this point, we can't be spoiled. Those of you that have watched the show for Run with the Wind, it's based off a light novel, so there's nothing to spoil us at this point. There's no manga spoilers. There's no nothing. It's just we've had it. We're good. We can enjoy it and do all the fan art and all the fan fiction, and it's perfectly fine. But yeah, okay. Oh, I've read the manga. Jacob has read the manga for Haikyuu and Basic Otaku. You're only on season 3. It's so good. Oh, Arias, Skate the Infinity is taking over Run with the Wind. I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty hyped up. I want to see what this is all about. I'm wanting to see this campy show and what all it has in store. I'm pretty excited about it. But yes. And then the other poll, hey, Destiny, nice to see you on there. Yeah, the other poll with Banana Fish is still going on until the 14th. So it's got a little bit more time. And then you are right. Right now, Bungo Stray Dogs is winning it. So I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I get excited with polls because all the shows that I put on them, they're all ones that I'm interested in based on I've read the descriptions for them. They're all ones I'm interested in. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put it out because I'm very indecisive. If it was up to me, if I had all the time in the world, I would just binge them all and just do nothing but watch anime. But I can't do that, unfortunately. So I'm like, you know what? We'll just put it to a poll and we'll just see what happens. But I have heard Bungo Stray Dogs. My brother loves that show. And as soon as I was talking about shows to put on the poll, he was like, you should watch it. And I've heard 91 Days is amazing too. Binge them all has been my corner. To be fair, I started this channel and reacting originally because of all this going on. I had actually been away from anime and manga for years. I just gotten zoned out of it. And then when all this shelter in place and everything started happening with the quarantine, I was like, my brother's like, do you want to stream some shows? And we started streaming together. And we started with Demon Slayer. That was the first thing that we streamed together over quarantine, which was really fun. And after that, I'm like, I kind of want to get back into anime and get back into reading manga again. And then here we are. So my brother and I we've streamed Demon Slayer. We've streamed 7 Deadly Sins, which will be a soapbox video at some point. Let me tell you, we've done that. And right now we're on Hunter x Hunter, which I've never watched Hunter x Hunter until now. And Hunter x Hunter is going to be one of those 2-hour soapboxes too, because there's just so much that's happened with it that I went from having a total 180 in my view of it to now. So I'm pretty excited to talk about those shows eventually as well on here. But yeah, so Run with the Wind, guys. Yeah, everyone has a top 10 list and you can go off those. And it's mostly good stuff. Yeah, there's so many good anime that I have a feeling that I'm set for a while. I'm not worried about that, but I'm just really excited to watch these shows with you all. And I'm so glad to have watched Run with the Wind with y'all. It's a beautiful show. Haiji and Kakeru, best boys. I'm so excited now because now that the show's over, I can look up all the fanfic, all the fan art. I can go crazy on Twitter and Tumblr looking up stuff and not feel like I'm going to spoil myself. I am so excited. But yeah, oh man, I forced him to watch Free and Banana Fish. Yes, Free and Banana Fish, good choices. We all need a Haiji. We do. We all need to strive to be Haiji in life, I feel like. I feel like anytime that I feel negative, I'm like, Haiji would not be negative about this. He would totally be on board. It's like, But oh my gosh, guys, this has been so much fun. True story. So I don't know, is there anything else for Run Them With the Wind, guys, to talk about? I feel like, man, this series, watching it with you all, especially these last 2 episodes, I told myself when I started this show that I wasn't going to cry. I was like, I'm not going to get emotional watching this. And then by episode 20, when I was starting to get a little misty-eyed, I was like, I think it's going to get to me. And then episode 22 hit, and it's done. Ugh. No spoilers. So thank you guys so much for joining this chat. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was so much fun. Like I said, March 21st is going to be when we're doing the Banana Fish one. So if you guys have been watching Banana Fish with me, we're going to do a big old chat on that morning. I loved this, and I'm so excited to do this again with Banana Fish. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then anytime that we end a series, or end a season of a show, we're going to do a chat, because just getting to talk to you all about this and seeing all your responses in the chat has been a lot of fun. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Catch up on that Banana Fish. Absolutely, Jacob. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for joining me on here. And yeah, Banana Fish, March 21st. That chat's gonna be wild, because I have a feeling that, as underrated as Run With the Wind is, and there's still been a lot of you watch it with me, but there's been a lot of people watch Banana Fish too. So I feel like that chat's gonna be insane. So I hope you all guys have a great night, great morning. Like Defensive Onion, it's 4 a.m. in your time. Get some sleep. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Take care. And I'll see you guys all again soon. Bye.